High in the Ozark Mountains of northern Arkansas, winter lingers like a ghost. The snow hasn't fully left the ridges, yet the forest breathes again. Damp air rising through the cedars, curling around the bare oaks, seeping into every hollow and creek bed. It's a place that feels untouched, ancient, but something moves beneath the stillness. From the mist and frost they come, wild hogs, hundreds strong, tusks cutting through the ice-crusted soil, hooves tearing through the soft earth. They sweep across the hills and descend into the valleys, where young corn and sweet potatoes struggle to break through the frozen ground. They do not fear the cold, they do not rest, and they do not belong here. Each night the sounds of the Ozarks change. The whisper of the wind turns into the restless rooting of the hogs. Fences crumble, fields disappear overnight, and what's left behind is more than destruction. It's a reminder that nature, when pushed off balance, always fights back. But not everyone chooses to stand by and watch. At first light, when frost still clings to the grass and breath turns white in the air, a small team rises from their camps deep in the woods. They shoulder their rifles, check their gear, release their hounds, and step into the silence. No fanfare, no audience, just resolve. With GPS signals cutting through the mountain fog, they track movement, shapes shifting in the tree line, trails etched into the snow. Every print tells a story: how many passed, how fast they moved, how close they are. The hunt isn't about glory, it's about control. Because for every night they stay home, another farm falls, another harvest dies, another acre is lost. This is not sport, this is stewardship. The fight to protect the fragile balance between human hands and wild land. To defend the soil that feeds families, the rivers that carve these valleys, and the forests that have stood for centuries. And as the day fades, as sunlight spills gold through the last cracks of the trees, the forest finally exhales. Tools are packed, tracks are marked, the sounds of the swamp return. The Ozarks slip back into their quiet disguise, as if nothing ever happened. But deep beneath the moss and mud, the battle continues, unseen, unending. Because in this war, victory is never permanent. It is earned every day with patience, skill, and the will to protect what cannot protect itself. This is NEO Farm, and this is the Ozark Campaign, where the line between man and wilderness blurs and every heartbeat echoes the struggle to keep the wild in balance. Deep in the forest where silence once reigned, the ground begins to tremble in the dark. The sound of digging and rooting echoes between the trees, carrying the damp breath of soil and the scent of decay. It isn't a storm, it isn't a predator, it's something far more relentless. The invasion of feral hogs tearing through everything in their path. They rip trees from their roots, collapse hillsides, foul streams, and leave once lush forests stripped bare and lifeless. People have tried everything: steel fences, traps, repellents, even high-frequency deterrents. But nothing lasts for long. They learn, they adapt, they multiply. One female can give birth twice a year, a dozen piglets each time. A tidal wave of destruction that spreads faster than the land can recover. The forest is losing ground, and now humanity has no choice but to intervene, not out of vengeance, but necessity. This isn't a hunt for sport, but a mission for balance. They bring skill, technology, and an unyielding resolve, a fight to reclaim what the wild can no longer protect on its own. Winter in the Ozark Mountains was harsh and unforgiving. Alex and his team had begun their feral hog hunting expedition, each step deliberate and calculated. Then, through the frost-covered pines, they spotted their first target, a lone hog wandering across the snow. But fortune was on its side. The distance was too great, and it slipped away into the cold wilderness. Pushing deeper into the wilderness, the hunters soon realized they were no longer chasing shadows. They were surrounded by them. Across the frozen ridges, entire herds of feral hogs thundered through the snow, their dark bodies cutting through the white landscape like a living storm. The hunt had just taken a new turn, faster, louder, and far more unpredictable. You can see their trails, long winding scars across the snow, proof of their numbers and discipline. They move in tight groups, one leading the way, the rest following close behind, searching for food or shelter beneath the heavy drifts. Even in this brutal cold, they never stop. Then came the sound, sharp, powerful, echoing across the valley. Gunfire cracked through the frozen air, shattering the stillness of winter. The mountains seemed to hold their breath for a moment, and then the chaos began. What had started as a hunt was now a battle, one that would test patience, precision, and the will to endure the wild.
Tamam. İstersen.
Yine güzel bir domuz avı oldu bugün de. Bayağı izlerini sürdük karda.
The next morning, the team pushed forward once again. The storm had eased overnight, leaving the Ozark slopes blanketed in a thinner layer of snow. Still cold, still dangerous, but clearer now, easier to track. It was the kind of morning that promised action. The hounds were the first to sense it, barking fiercely, their breath rising in white clouds against the dawn air. Moments later, a lone feral hog broke through the trees, muscles tensed, eyes wild. But it was already too late. Man and dog moved as one, seasoned instincts guiding every step. The hunt was swift, precise, and over before the forest could fall silent again. You see, Alex isn't just any hunter. With over 10 years of experience, he's learned to read the wilderness like a map. Every broken twig, every track in the snow tells him a story. He can predict a hog's movement long before it appears. And today, once again, he proved it. Every time he takes the lead, the chase seems to end the same way. The hunter in control, the wild cornered, and the frozen forest holding its breath in quiet respect. You know, out here in the Ozark Mountains, the real damage isn't always what you can see. It's what's left behind. When feral hogs start digging for roots and grubs beneath the frozen soil, they don't just tear up the ground, they rip apart the foundation of the forest itself. The soft topsoil that took years to form is turned over in minutes. Young saplings are uprooted, and entire slopes become vulnerable to erosion. And when the snow finally melts, that damage doesn't stay put. The loosened earth washes downhill, choking creeks and rivers with mud and debris, clouding the clear mountain water that so many animals and people depend on. But it doesn't stop there. These hogs are opportunistic feeders. They'll devour anything they find: bird eggs, frogs, even small mammals trying to survive the cold. Each winter, that relentless hunger slowly unravels the delicate balance of the ecosystem, where every creature plays a part in keeping the wilderness alive. So when people talk about feral hogs being just a nuisance, they're missing the bigger picture. In places like the Ozarks, every root torn, every nest destroyed, every stream turned to sludge, it all adds up. And nature, as powerful as it is, can only take so much. You know, most people think the cold slows everything down. That winter gives the land a chance to rest. But out here in the Ozark Mountains, the feral hogs don't rest. They dig, tear, and root through the frozen ground like living plows, turning over the very skin of the earth in their endless search for food. It's not just messy, it's destruction, slow and quiet, but devastating all the same. When they tear through the surface soil, they destroy the network of roots that holds the forest together. The tender shoots of saplings, the protective moss, even the fungi that keep the ecosystem breathing through the cold. The moment the snow begins to melt, all that loose soil washes away with the runoff. What was once rich mountain earth becomes streams of brown sludge racing downhill in suffocating rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. The same water that sustains wildlife, and sometimes even local communities, becomes choked with mud, bacteria, and decay. But the damage goes deeper than the soil. These hogs are omnivores with no boundaries. They raid the ground nests of quail and wild turkeys, crush frog habitats beneath their hooves, and devour anything that moves slower than they do. In a season when food is scarce and survival depends on balance, their appetite tips the scale. Each overturned nest, each vanished egg, each muddy pool, it's one more fracture in an already fragile winter ecosystem. And when you add up thousands of hogs across hundreds of valleys, that damage becomes something far greater than inconvenience. It's the slow erosion of life itself, the loss of clean water, of fertile land, of the silent order that keeps the wild alive through the hardest months of the year. So when winter comes to the Ozarks, the forest doesn't sleep, it endures. And every night beneath the snow and the moonlight, the battle for balance continues. One root, one river, one hoofprint at a time.
Tamam abi. Çakabildin mi? Görüntü de var mı?
Yakınlaştırdım vardır herhalde.
Sürü üstündeydi, sürü kalabalık.
Evet, herkes bugün kafaları doldurdu. Ben sürekli olduğum halde ben böyle bir belasız avlar veriyorum. Rast gelsin diyor.
Güzel de görüntü aldık. Şimdi ayağınıza sağlık abi. Teşekkür ederim.
Sağ olun. Sen benim ayağımı kaçıracağım. Bazısı vurulacak. Rast gelsin cümleten diyor.
When the final shot echoed across the open field, the sun had already slipped behind the horizon. No one cheered, no one raised their rifles in triumph. There was only the whisper of wind moving through the grass and the steady sound of boots pressing into soil that had, at last, gone quiet. This kind of fight has no stage, no spotlight, no applause. There are no medals waiting at the end. Only the land that needs saving, the crops that need to grow, and the small towns counting on one more season of survival. Out here, every hog brought down isn't just a victory, it's a reprieve. It's one more field spared from ruin, one more farm still standing, one more stretch of earth that remains our own. We don't hunt for glory, we hunt to preserve, to restore balance where chaos has taken root, to give the land a chance to breathe again. Because for those who live by the soil, every sunrise is another beginning. And every sunset is a reminder of what's still worth fighting for. This is NEO Farm, and the battle for this land is far from over.
Got to kill 70% of the pig population.
And they've overpopulated that fast.
Yeah.